Welcome back. Now in this video we're going to take another look at the audio that we were working with, and what you're going to notice about this audio right in this section is that the narrator actually made it easy for us, and you can see it on the timeline where he paused, and you can see that gap right in this area. You can see the gap here. You can see another gap here. You can see another gap here. And this actually made it easy for us to create scenes. However, what if the narrator did not do that? Is there something that you could do? Well, of course, you could actually do this. And one of the things that you could do is you could actually split a particular space, and you can create a space. So what we would do is we would come to that space in the timeline where we would want the gap to be, and we'd actually create our own gap. So we would edit the audio, and with Camtasia we would do that by splitting and then just creating a small gap. Right? And you can actually make it smaller by stretching out the timeline and then closing the gap. And we'll stretch that back. Now what you'll notice then is that at every point at which we want there to be a short pause, we would actually create that pause here on the timeline. So if there was no gap here and we wanted one, well, we do the same thing here. What we do is we split, and then we would create a short gap. And what this would do is this would actually give us that break that we would need in order to create our scenes. And once again, this particular narrator made it easy for us by doing some natural breaks, but you will not always get that if you're going to use the audio. And if you like to use the audio as is, you can actually go into that audio and then create your own gaps and create your own space. So now what we would do is we would actually first go to the library, and then we would try to find some royalty-free music. Now, one of the things that we can tell is that our clip is going to be about 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Our music is probably not going to last long enough from the Camtasia library, so we would need to have some royalty-free music that either we purchased or that we've downloaded from a service. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to grab some royalty-free music that we have from a service. You can use some royalty-free music that you either purchased or use one of the services. We're going to drag this full MP3 into the timeline. So now what we would do is we would draw our cursor back to the very beginning. And then we're going to pull our music down to the timeline. We would then take this audio and we would actually size it down or bring down the volume. So we want to bring that volume down to the point where it doesn't overpower the actual voiceover. So we've got the audio down. And of course, then the last thing we would do is we'd actually want to do some noise removal, although the music will take care of much of that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to briefly take this track off the timeline here. We're going to grab our audio and then we're going to do a little noise removal. Now what we would need to do if we'd actually broken up this audio is we would need to actually do noise removal on each piece. Now we're not going to do that for the sake of time. We're just going to do noise removal on this one element. Right? You'll notice that this one is yellow, the other one is gray. You would need to do this with each piece if you've actually split the timeline. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, we're going to add back the music. And then we're just going to play our audio just to make sure that the volume is low enough.
There's a big misconception among many young people, especially those coming out of college.
Okay, that may not be the right music, but I think you get the idea. We could probably stand to turn the volume down a little more. I'm going to turn that down even more. So once again, we don't want the music to overpower the message.
There's a big misconception among many young people.
Okay, so we now have an audio that is complete. We want to go to the end of the audio. This audio is extending past the time, so we're just going to cut this audio. And then we're going to now go ahead and produce our MP3 to be taken into the timeline. And in Camtasia, all we would need to do is to go to the produce and share, and then use our MP3 setting. Then the audio would start to produce.
Among many young
then that
people,
audio is going to autoplay when it is complete.
That is the belief.
We're going to close that out. We're going to open up our production folder, and there is our audio. So now what we can do is we can go to our video creation software, and we can actually upload this audio to the timeline. And every video creation software is going to be a little different. In Video Scribe, what we would do is we'd actually select our track and we grab it from our hard drive. Okay, so now our audio is added to our page, and now we can begin to match our audio with our scenes. Okay, so with that, thanks, and I will see you in another video.